All right. And how you going, guys? I'm just going to have the ambient sound of the sim in the background. I'm going to make a quick video on SimBrief here today, just because there was a few things that some people were having issues with on how to make one and how to actually read one as well. So we're going to go ahead and do just that. Okay, so when you come to SimBrief for the first time, you'll need to make an account. I've already got one. So once you have made your account, you'll be greeted with a page similar to this, and you'll have a create flight, edit last flight, saved, and all that sort of stuff. You probably won't have anything, or you may have some things if you're using the guide to brush out some things that you don't know. But anyways, I've been using SimBrief for probably about 8 years now, and I still need to learn quite a lot. But anyways, here we go. So you're going to come in and create a flight. So in here, you want to select a few things in the settings. Now, everyone will be using LIDDO. It's one of the easiest ones to understand, so that is the one that I'm going to go through today. There is plenty of other ones for all the other airlines out there. I use QFP sometimes. I've recently just come back to LIDDO because a lot of people have been asking me about LIDDO, and it's just a lot easier for me to explain if I'm using it at the same time. Other things are pounds and kilos. I have it in kilos. Other things are auto. Otherwise, if you want to go ahead and put a whole bunch of different stuff here for your contingencies and all that sort of stuff, you can have it on auto. Or if your airline has a particular one, some airlines might have 45 minutes all the time. It really depends. Or you can just have it on auto. Most, I think in Australia, is 45 minutes. It really depends on what your airline is asking for. Some airlines probably want an hour, some might want 45 minutes or whatever, so you can really go ahead and select what you want. I've been leaving it on auto for some time. Now I'm going to leave it on 45. That's just your contingency or fixed reserve. This is actually a fixed reserve here, so I have a feeling fixed reserve can change depending on your weather conditions, so I leave it on auto because the weather is always different. That is another reason why I leave contingency on there as well, because weather can have a drastic change on what your reserved fuel is and your contingency fuel. Your detailed navlog, Etop's planning. Now Etop's is for like leaving like radio controlled areas, going over water, all that sort of stuff. And I'll show you that exact thing right now. Plan step climbs. If you're using like a big aircraft, you can plan your step climbs and run my analysis. So step climbs is for like if you go out to one waypoint and you'll be at flight level 250, and then 3 waypoints later you might climb again to like flight level 290, and then another 3 waypoints later you'll climb again, obviously. So that's the step climbs. Because you're probably too heavy to climb straight up to flight level 370, so they step you up there. That's for more bigger aircraft, so if you're talking about the 737 or the A320, maybe not so much because you're only a domestic aircraft and you'll be landing within an hour to 2 hours anyway. But for bigger long-range aircraft, that's what you'll be using your step climbs. You'll also have your NOTAMs and your FIR NOTAMs for the airports that you pick. You also have a option for your flight map. Right, so how do we do it? You'll select your airline, okay? For this example, we're going to use Qantas, so QFA, and we're going to fly just 101, for example. We're going to be departing Sydney. I'm going to do a real big one, and we'll just go, for the hell of it, to what we're going to call KLAX. Let's go to KLAX, okay? Sydney to KLAX. Alright, I think that's how it's spelled. We're going to go there, and as you can see, Sydney to KLAX goes out there. Right, so the next thing we need to do is pick our aircraft that we're going to be flying. We're going to pick the 737. Now these first ones are profiles that I have made up. Now I'll probably have to go through these Qantas ones because they'll be different to the aircraft that we are flying in the sim today. So in the description below, I will have a one for the 737 passenger variant. in the link in the description below, so you can download that. I'm hoping that I can find a way to get that in the description. So we'll see about that, and you'll be able to download it, and you'll have a profile here for the aircraft in the sim. If you don't have any of these, that's fine. We'll go through that anyway, and I'll show you how to do it your own. But you just come down here and you look for the aircraft that you want. Now we want the 787 because we're going to KLAX, okay? So we're going to select the 787-10. Okay, so everything else has come up. We have the cost index is set for auto. If your airline has a particular cost index, you can go here and put it here. I just set it for auto because it should pick up that it's a Qantas flight and it will give me one. Descent profile, it doesn't really give you an option, and the climb profile is exactly the same. If your aircraft is using more fuel than normal, maybe you want to put a P factor of 5. If it's a brand new aircraft, it'd probably be 1, most likely. Okay. Alrighty. So we'll just go find that 1. There it is. If you have a registration, now the registrations here in Australia are Victor Hotel, whatever. The numbers after it, then the flight number of the fin number, not the flight number, the fin number, the number on the back of the fin. Then your cell code, you don't really need those things, and your call sign is obviously just going to be the flight number at the top, or if you have a particular call sign, you can actually change it. Here is your scheduled flight time, the departure runway according to what SimBrief reckons, according to the weather that's outside at the moment if you're using live weather. The arrival runway of the runway at this point in time in KLAX. It's not going to be that when you get there because it's obviously, what, 17-hour flight, something like that? 12-hour flight or something. The taxi out, how long it's going to take to taxi out? 20 minutes, 8 minutes in. The extra fuel on board, kilograms. So if you want to take extra fuel, go for it. Maybe chuck in an extra 2,000 kilograms of fuel. Okay, altitude, what altitude do you want to set? Now in this particular instance, I would leave it on auto because it will select your step climb out to KLAX. Passengers, you set that to auto because you don't know how many passengers are going to be on board. You might have a cancellation or two. Freight, are you going to be doing freight? 0. But what happens if you want to do freight and you don't want to do passengers? You can do that, you can change that around, okay? 0 fuel weight, you leave that to auto. Because the 0 fuel weight can be different, but if you want a particular 0 fuel weight the whole entire time, you can select that. It's really up to you. Dispatcher name, keep it on random because you're not going to have the same dispatcher every single time. Obviously your name and your ID. Any custom dispatcher remarks that you would like to put there, so maybe I am new, especially if you want to go into VATSIM, because you can integrate this into VATSIM. So yes, that's there. So the next thing you come up with is the ARAC cycle. Are you up to date with your ARAC cycle? Do you have the subscription with Navigraph? If you do, you'll have the current up-to-date ARAC cycle, and you can go back to all the other ones that you've had in the past, and it will stop. Like I can go right back to 18. All the ones that I have bought, I can go all the way back. Okay, so you don't need to. As you can see, I haven't got a lot of them. I've got quite a few on 21, but I don't have a lot on 22. So that's okay. The next one is to pick your valid route for the ARAC cycle of 2204. Some of these may not be good anymore, technically. So normally it gives you the best one. Okay. It'll also give you how many nautical miles it is. So if you want a shorter one, it doesn't really matter. But the shorter one doesn't mean that it's going to be any better. I'm not 100% sure the percentages, so some of them may be more, some of them may be less. But yeah, that's not a big deal. Alright, so we come down here, we have a route finder if you want to find a particular route. Weather, if you want to go back to historical weather instead of using the SimBrief live weather. Really up to you, okay? Alternate airport customizations, you can have multiple alternate airports, whatever you want. So for this particular one, maybe I want to have 3 alternate airports, okay? We go here and we find the alternate airports. It's now given me 3 alternate airports that I can look for over here in the over near KLAX. So if KLAX I can't get to, I have 3 options for my aircraft to land at. So that is brilliant. Okay, so maybe 4. Why not? Let's have 4. So we have a contingency of 4 different airports that our aircraft that we have picked, the 787, if we cannot land at KLX, we've got 4 other airports, possibly, and as you can see, they're quite some distance away, away from maybe any weather, congestion. Maybe KLX has an emergency and you can't land yet, so you have 4 contingency plans right there. Okay, your Etop scenario. We can customize the Etop scenario. What are we going to do on the Etop scenario? Okay, you can select this to auto. What is Etops? Etops is the area that is around, like, you're not going to be near, like, towers or anything like that. So we'll just auto calculate the Etops right now, and you'll see what I mean. And I'll give you where you're going to lose communication, where you won't be on radar anymore, all that sort of stuff there. You can have this any particular time. So what it is trying to do is give you the options of going to different places. So as you can see, we're flying along and we are pretty much covered all by these other places. Alright, so we are covered pretty much the whole entire time. Sometimes you might have an Etops going over the desert as well, where you're outside of radio communication or quite far away from airports, all that sort of stuff. So if you have a look at this, you can kind of say, right, I'm here. I'm within both these circles, so I can, like, if I have to divert, I can go back to one of these 2 areas or whatever. So it kind of gives you an idea of where you are. So if I'm out here, I can't go back there, and I cannot go to KLX. So the next one will be to go over here. So that's basically what it is in a way. You can clear fields and change it to whatever you want. Now you don't have to do this, okay? Target scenario 180 minutes. You can change it. Let's just do auto, okay? Why not? Let's go up and we will select the generate flight plan. Once you have generated the flight plan, it will take some time to generate the flight plan. Once it is generated, don't worry about the ed. The Etops is now calculating because we're mucking around with the auto, okay? So don't worry about that. It'll work itself out, okay? So here is our new flight plan, and it has reselected the Etops that it wants because we selected it to auto. Here is your massive flight plan route, and you'll have your airline, your flight number, your aircraft that you're using, the origin, the destination, your alternate, the main alternate, not all of them, just the main, and all your flight levels and all that sort of stuff. Now that is your main flight level all over, okay? So the next thing you will have is your QFP. What is this and how do we use the QFP? Alright, so the first line, that is your aircraft call sign. It's made on the 12th of May, 2022. The destination, from Sydney to KLX. The aircraft that is in use, the aircraft registration, and the release in Zulu. It's not time. And then it will say Kingsford Smith, Los Angeles International. Okay? What is this? This is your WEX weather prog. Don't really need to know that as much, so I'm not going to go into detail on that. You will need to know sometimes for the 737, 700, your cost index, or even in the 787, you may need to know the cost index. And it is chosen 15, because we remember we set it to auto, so it is chosen that. Other things you might need to be aware of is the average wind on your route. You might also need to know the ISA, which is P stands for positive, M stands for minus. The next things you'll need to be aware of is your alternate, which is KONT, which is your main alternate. You remember we might have the 4 that we set up, which we'll find in a minute. This is your flight level, and as you can see, it has steps. If it did not have a step, that word wouldn't be there, but we have steps anyways. So, flight level 3 initial is 330, flight level 330. Then later on, we will be stepping up to 350. And then later on, 370. And then later on, we'll be at 390. And then you can see the waypoints that is telling you to do that. Now, the aircraft should do this automatically if it is set up in the FMS properly. So that is where you find your flight level steps. The next one will be your dispatch remarks. Etops fuel required. I am new. Okay, so you put that there. just for yourself. Or you can put other notes there for yourself and whatnot, okay? Just to give you some sort of, I don't know, some jolt when you're reading this. We're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Next thing you need to know is your fuel. So this is your trip fuel, the fuel that you're going to be using on the trip and how long it is going to give you. So that's 12 hours, 43 minutes of that much fuel. Your contingency plus 5%. That was automatically given to us. You can change that contingency, like we said, 45, whatever. I left it at auto, which has given us 5%. Alright, so there it is. The alternate airfield has only given you the alternate fuel for the ONT. The fineries is similar to your, if not the same as reserve fuel. So that's an extra bit of fuel for 30 minutes of flight time. So fineries was set to auto, remember? Or in AKA standing, it is fuel reserved. Now, if your fuel reserved is 60 minutes, maybe you should change that because it's given you 30 minutes here. Now, you got to think, there's rain outside in Sydney at the moment, so you got to think, right, I need to, yeah, change that to whatever you need to change it to. Then you get your Etops, so you get an extra 12 minutes of fuel for Etops, your minimum takeoff fuel. So that is all the fuel that you're going to need for taking off, okay? This taxi fuel here is the extra amount of fuel that they give you on top of everything else here. Right? We asked for an extra 2,000, we get it. This is our taxi fuel as we go out. We're going to be taxiing out of Sydney. We're probably going to use 500 kilograms of fuel on our taxi out. This is the amount of fuel that we're going to have when we get to the runway. And if you want here, the PIC, pilot in command, if you want a bit of extra again, if you forgot to do it here, there it is. So that's what you can do there. And when you print this out, you can actually write on this piece of paper where the dotted lines are, and you're like, okay, I'm going to take another extra 2,000 bit of fuel, and then you're going to add it onto that, and then RYZEN for PIC extra fuel, because I wanted to, whatever. So yeah, so that's that. The rest of the other stuff is for your alternates and your taxi trips and all that sort of stuff. Then the rest of it, I hereby confirm that. You don't really need any of that. You can sign that if you really want. Just if you want to keep a paper trail for yourself and, yeah, maybe get a folder and have all your flights in a paper trail. And you can go back to your flights and, yeah, say, look, I've got all these printed off in my name. There's also a save setting in SimBrief, so you don't have to print them out. You can just leave them all digital. That's fine. You don't really need to worry about the rest of these here, but this is where the alternates are. So this was the main alternate that we talked about. This is the second alternate that we talked about. The third and the fourth. And you can see how much extra fuel you need for these other ones. So make sure that you contingent for the worst case scenario. Now you remember the first one, they only gave us the extra fuel for K0, right? We go up here and look for the alternate. They only gave us the extra fuel for that. So maybe we should not use that, and we should, in our PIC here, change the fuel to that instead. So we don't change it, right? So we take this number and this number. So we go 3,811 minus the 1,883, and then whatever that is our PIC, right? So we're taking the extra fuel so we can get to this location if K0 is not available. So I hope that melds in your head a little bit and then you understand. So that is how you set up, and that's what you want to have a look at. If you don't have any alternates other than just the one, it's already up here and you don't need to look at it. But if you've got the 4, double check it just to make sure that you don't need extra fuel. And that is probably what you'd put in here. Reason for extra fuel. We have a airport that's a little further and we need more fuel. So that's what you need. Down here, you got routing. Though basically that is the same thing as you would have seen all the way up here. Alright, it gives you a whole bunch of numbers and letters and stuff. Now the routing in this is quite crazy. It's not giving you waypoints, it's giving you like longitude and latitude, so don't be too disheartened. When you get closer to the land, you get your crazy worded names and all that sort of stuff. Operational impacts, I don't really know what it is. If someone does, tell me in the comments below. The rest of this stuff is not really for me. So you got your out time, your off time, your on time, your in time, and your block time. So that's it there. You'll That's pretty self-explanatory. This one here is your weights. Now, the QFP for Qantas flight plan, the Qantas flight plan does not have this for some reason, but this is LIDDO anyways. So here is your weights. So passengers, you have 195 passengers. Your cargo is 7,400 kilograms. Remember, if you're in pounds, it'll be pounds. Payload is in 30.8, so 30,800, I believe, something like that, in kilograms. And then your zero fuel weight, your fuel, your takeoff weight, and your stabilizer trim. And you can write that in there, okay? So it's not going to tell you what it is. It's just going to be there. Your post extra of 4.3%. And all that sort of stuff. So there's also extras stuff there for you to have a look at. All right. The next one is the big one, okay? This is your flight log. This is where you'll find all your waypoints, all your altitudes, all your winds, all your stuff. But how do you read this? Right, so how to read it is airway, okay? So you got these four here. Don't worry about all that. You got these four here. So the top one is airway. Your second one is position, ident of the waypoint, and the frequency if there is one. Okay, so the first one, we don't have an airway, but we have Sydney, which is position, okay? The ident of Sydney, okay? And there's no frequency. So let's have a look. Airway. We are direct on the airway. Position is no bar, and the ident is no bar. Does that make sense? So here we do have the airway. The position will be top of climb, but there's no ident or frequency because top of climb doesn't have either. But you can see here we also have, again, airway. The next one is abarab, however you pronounce it, position, and then, again, ident. Now, if we have a look at, I don't think there is one with a frequency, but you get the point, okay? Which means the same for the next one. Latitude is on top, longitude's on the bottom. So if you have a look, latitude, longitude. Simple as that. Okay, maybe not those numbers, just there. That's longitude, that's latitude. This is your estimated time en route. So to get from Sydney to Brisbane FIR or whatever it is 8 minutes, right? So it takes you 8 minutes to get to Nobar apparently. And then in the you'll say actual there. So this is estimated time of interception or whatever, time of arrival, estimated time accumulating, and you'll write your when you get there exactly in these points. Actual time, estimated time, okay? So ATO is actual time. Here's 24 minutes, so this is accumulated. So 6, 16, and it accumulates up, okay? So this will tell you how long it gets there between point 1 to point 2, okay? The bottom one will tell accumulate between all the points. So this one is 16 minutes from Nobar to top of climb. This one is from top of climb to Arab, 6 minutes. But as you can see, from the start is 30 minutes, okay? I hope that makes sense. Alright, so the next one is flight level. MORA, don't know what that means, and distance, okay? So your flight level is the first one. So at Nobar, we have to be flight level 146, and at the top of climb, 130. And then if you scroll all the way down here, we'll be at the 130 for quite some time until it tells us to go to 150. Now the aircraft should know that, but you'll have to change it in the FMS. No? Yes, yeah. You'll have to change it in FMS and your MCDP, or the autopilot stuff up the top. Alright, and the next one is your distance, okay? So your distance to each waypoint is the third one there. Then your next one's IMT, ITT, and RADS. I don't use those, so I'm not too sure what they are. Your true airspeed, your ground speed that they think it's going to be, so your true airspeed and your ground speed, that's what they think it's going to be. Your MN, I don't know what that is. Don't use it. I don't know what it is. Your winds, comp, and shear. So you'll have your winds, your comp, which is your temperatures and all that sort of stuff. And I'm not too sure what SHR is. But yeah, outside air temperature, not too sure what those are. I only really worry about outside air temperature. TDV is something to do with positive temperatures. Dew point maybe. Fuel on board, estimated fuel on board, actual fuel on board. So estimated fuel on board, they reckon they're going to have this much fuel when you get to this location here. If you have a little bit more or a little bit less, you would write it down. Okay. The last one is your burn, so your fuel burns and all that sort of stuff. So you don't really need to know any of that unless you really do. The rest of the stuff is really up to you. Other parts here is critical point for fuel requirements. Now, if you really want to go into it, there's that. Don't use it. I don't. The next one is wind information at the different locations. So if you're going to try and get the best winds, so best tailwinds or whatever, so you can fly a bit faster, you can have a look at the different heights at that particular given point and get going with the tailwind behind you. Okay, if there's a really good tailwind out there, or you could find that there's really, really cold up here, like -50. Maybe you shouldn't fly up at -50 degrees, or maybe like even further here, 60 degrees, 63 degrees. Maybe you don't want to be flying up there, you might freeze. But yes, you can have a look at all your winds and you can find the best flight level for yourself for that particular point in time. Now, this is given from the time you hit generate. So if you generate it now and fly tomorrow, these won't be the same. So make sure you generate it at the time of flight. Your ICAO flight plan, so it's basically giving you all your flight plan again, and all your additional info. Anything beyond here, I do not know. I don't use it. You don't need to use it in the simulator. But if you really want to learn about it, I'm sure there'll be a real pilot out there that will be able to go through the LIDDO format with you, but there is a lot of information that they probably don't even use too. They read it, but they don't need it. There's just a lot of stuff there. So basically the stuff that I have covered is the basic stuff that you need to understand with the LIDDO format for your flight plan. Okay, so how do we get it out of there? You can go to the PDF. You can create a PDF file, and there it is. And then you can print it out for yourself, okay? Let me see if I could go back to that other one. So we'll go back to SimBrief, and there it is. Okay, so you can also pre-file the flight, okay, and download in the FMS. And also validate. Now, I don't really do many of these things. I do get the PDF, and I pre-file, but you don't have to pre-file it there. If you are on VATSIM, or any of the other ones, IVAO, Pilot Edge, or POSCON, you can just hit pre-file and it will take you to a website and you can get your call sign, you can change anything that you need, and you just hit file flight plan and it will go to that particular whatever you're using, particular network. Okay, I don't use any of the others, I just use VATSIM. The other things, if you don't have the FMS downloader and you want to download it separately, you'll find what aircraft you need. Now, the 787 may not be in here, but we do have the PMD G920, which is this one. Quality Wings 787 would have been this if you have P3D, so you'd use Quality Wings. The FS 2020 is here. You can also use the SimBrief downloader, which looks like, let me just grab it for you. I'll just grab it. Where is it? SimBrief downloader. There it is. Right, so it looks like this, ladies and gentlemen. There it is. So when you load up, you'll log in and you will have all the same things here. Now, this is automatic. So once this starts up and you generate a flight plan, it comes straight up here. All I need to do is export it. Now, what this will do is it'll export into the areas that I need. Now, obviously, the 737 won't work, but however, you can utilize this later on when so you can put all your flight plans in the PMDG 737 wind uplink and all that. So any of your PMDG aircraft can use it. So that's what that is. Okay, and you just hit export, and that flight plan that we just made goes in. And as you can hear that little alarm going off just then, that is the program still running. SimBrief downloader is running in the background, close tray. So all you need to do is, if I was to go and file another flight plan, you'd have an alarm pop up on your screen. You just click it and bam, it loads it straight away, and you don't have to do anything. You can download the SimBrief downloader from right here. Okay? These are the NOTAMs if you want to read the NOTAMs for the particular airport in real time. I don't really do that, but hey, it's up to you if you want. Okay, so the next thing is to go fly the plane. Other things on SimBrief right here, we'll go through now, is all your flight plans. So all the flights that you've had, if you've got any saved flights that you want to keep, because some of these flights get deleted over time. I've got quite a few. So yeah, there's a lot. So if you want to save a particular flight plan, some of these will get deleted eventually. So make sure you save the flight plan. You can also sort last flight, new flight. So that's loading last flight, sort modified, sort flight, and sort airports. The next thing across is my fleet. This is where you can create aircraft, and because not every aircraft is exactly the same. Look at this. I got two 787s or two 737s right there. They're two different aircraft. So not every aircraft is exactly the same. So you can make it however you want. I suggest you make it how the sim has the aircraft set up. So find the specs from the aircraft in the sim, which you can do that via going to your profile, my hangar, and selecting the aircraft and selecting specifications, and you can get all the specs for that aircraft right there. How do we do that? We go here to new frame. You'll select a body of an aircraft. So let's go select the 737. Like I said, I'll do this and put it in the description below. So we'll do this together. And 737-700, there it is. So once we have done that, there is a 737-700, and we can select the airlines that it is for. So we're going to just say, hey, it's for Qantas. Okay, so with 737-700, the engines, what is the call sign going to be? I'll probably change this call sign for something completely different later on. We'll just use a Yankee Kilo Echo for now. It's probably not the same. The FIN number will be 813 maybe. The cell code, if there is one, and the ICAO mode S, which you don't use. The cell code is not really necessary. So it is a medium aircraft. It has a VREF of that, which is perfectly fine. That's what exactly it has. It has all of those. It has that. It has that. If you want any remarks or data to SimBrief, that's up to you. How many passengers does this aircraft have? In the sim, it's 148. It's not 149. It is 148 if you are using the single class variant, which you can select in the FMS. If you're not using the single class variant and you're using first class, you may want to bring it down to, I think it was 138. I'm not 100% sure. I'm using the single class variant, so I need 148 passengers on board my aircraft. I'm going to use kilograms, so I'm going to change it over to kilograms. Right, now where do we get all the kilograms? These will be completely different to the actual thing. So let me go out of the sim right now real quickly, and I'll show you where this actually is. Right, so I'm just going to bring up the sim now. And there it is. Okay, so we'll come over to Profile. We'll go to My Hangar. We will select Aircraft. Obviously, look for the 737. Where's the 737? Select the aircraft that we're doing, okay? So I'm going to select the aircraft that we're doing. Go back. Select the livery that you want to do, because you got to remember, some of the developers that make liveries might have the specifications different to the other liveries, okay? They are tailored to that livery, okay? Every livery is completely different. So we'll come over here to specifications. Now you'll see the specifications of the sim. So now if I just bring up, not that one, let's say, I hope it's this one. I really do. There it is. Okay, so I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller so you can see it. And we'll put that there. Right. And there it is. I'll just pop that back up on the screen for you. And we've got now our stuff on the side. So let me just, oopsies, no, that's the wrong one. I'm just going to bring that down so I can see it. You're just going to have to make do with all the crap up the top there, okay? Anyways, we want to have a look at all the different things. So we have our max altitude. So we want to make sure that the aircraft can do all the stuff that it states here. So first off, we want to look for the empty weight of the aircraft. So empty weight of the aircraft is 37,648 kilos. So we've got to change that. 37,648 kilos. So the next aircraft, the next thing that we need is the max zero fuel weight. Alright, so that you could possibly leave that and find that on Google, but we just wanted to find a few different things. Max takeoff weight, so max weight is 70,300, and so we can change that. So 307. Okay, wasn't too much different, but it was pretty close. Max landing weight. How about we just leave that because I can't see it there. If you want to go through Google and find all of this stuff, you can go for that. Max fuel capacity. So this is in kilograms, but as you can see, this is in liters. So this is probably close to correct. If you want to go through and check with a calculator, I think it avgas is 0.72, avter is like 0.82, something like that. You can change the value of the fuel capacity if you want to the correct. So I'm just going to leave it how it is, but you can. I will go through and do that at another time. The next one, max cargo weight. Now this is not in a cargo aircraft, so we can't use that. Passenger weight. So if you read here, all right, the average passenger weight for this particular one, they live at 79 kilos. All right, the baggage weight. Now baggages, right? I think pretty much everyone can only carry 20 kilos of bags on Qantas planes. So I'm going to leave it on 20. Okay, for every passenger, they're going to get 20 kilos. Okay, that's all. That's it. Default cost is on auto. Okay, maybe I want to say 5 because that's just I'm stingy. Okay, so you can select what you want for your cost index on this particular aircraft because it's Qantas. So find out what your cost index is for your airline. You can put that there. Like I said, if your aircraft is using a lot of fuel or not too much fuel, you can change it. Alright, I'm going to leave that on P1. The service ceiling, they say 41,000 feet here. Does that say the same as the max altitude there? Yes, it does, 41,000 feet. Cruise level offset, up to you what you want to do. Let's go ahead and save that aircraft, and that aircraft is now saved to my thing. So if I go to my view fleet now, I can go here and check for my 737 that I just made, which is this one here, Y Kilo Yankee, and there it is. That's my aircraft that I just pretty much picked up right now. Okay, so I can go here, and off I go. Now, if that is what you want to do, I can go ahead and share this aircraft. So I'll share the aircraft. All you need to do is when you come in, you just edit the aircraft and you change the airline, right? You'll change your PIN number and registration and maybe tweak a few of these things to suit your... and yeah, that's all I'm going to do is just copy one of these and put it in the description below, and then you'll be able to download this into your SimBrief, and off you go. Apart from that, guys, I hope you had a good time, and I hope this enlightens you on how to use SimBrief in Microsoft Flight Simulator in the future, and for every other sim that is out there. If you're new, thank you for watching. If you're old and you've learned something, thank you again, and I will hope to answer any of your questions if they are in the description below. Thank you very much, guys, and see you later.